Usually when we kick off a deep dive, I like to ease us in. Maybe a weird historical anecdote or a fun fact about coffee, something light. But today, we really need to skip the warm-up.
Yeah, we do. There's just too much to cover.
Right, because I was looking through the data for today's source material, an article titled Strategy Beats Hope, and I saw a statistic that actually stopped me in my tracks.
I think I know exactly which one you're looking at. It's the search traffic data, right?
Exactly. Internet searches for the specific phrase, can't sell my home, have just hit an all-time record high. And I don't just mean a little blip. We are talking about a vertical spike.
It's a staggering visual when you see it on a chart. It really is.
It is, and my immediate gut-level reaction, and I think the reaction of anyone seeing that, is just panic. It sounds like 2008. It feels like the bottom is falling out. But then I read the rest of the source, and it argues that my panic is actually wrong, or at least misplaced.
It is misplaced. And that's the nuance we really need to start with. That spike in searches doesn't mean the real estate market is broken. It means the market has shifted, and a significant portion of sellers just haven't shifted with it.
So we're not looking at a collapse of value, we're looking at a collapse of strategy.
That is the perfect way to frame it. The source argues that for the last few years, we were in easy mode. You could put a sign in the yard, price it aggressively, and you'd have 5 offers by Sunday.
Right. It was guaranteed.
Totally guaranteed.
Yeah.
But that era is over. Easy mode is officially turned off.
And now we're playing on hard mode.
Exactly. The sellers typing "can't sell my home" into Google are likely the ones who are still operating on the 2021 rulebook. They're finding out the hard way that the market has evolved.
Okay, so that's our mission today. We are going to unpack this new rule book. We're looking at why some homes are sitting stagnant, contributing to that huge search statistic, while others are still selling for top dollar.
And the source breaks this down beautifully.
It really does. It separates it into 3 really distinct areas. We've got neighborhood psychology, the new risk profile of buyers, and this fascinating concept of a launch versus a test.
Yeah, and for anyone listening right now, these aren't just tips for selling a house. This is really a masterclass in market psychology.
Let's get right into the first bucket then, because this one felt the most counterintuitive to me. The source calls it the bad neighbor effect. The headline is literally, one overpriced listing can impact the entire street.
This is a huge friction point for sellers right now. Huge.
But here's where I get stuck, though. If I'm selling my house and my neighbor, let's call him Dave, lists his house for a wildly unrealistic number, he's asking way too much. My logic has always been, great, thanks, Dave.
Right, because he makes you look good.
Exactly. Compared to his delusion, my house looks like a total steal. I look like the smart buy. So why is the source telling me Dave is actually sabotaging me?
It's a completely logical assumption on your part, but it ignores how buyers interpret data in a downshifting market. Think about the timeline here. Dave lists high. What happens next?
Well, nobody buys it. It just sits there.
Right. It sits. The days on market counter starts ticking up. Buyers see it sitting. They start to wonder what's wrong with it. Then inevitably, Dave has to cut the price.
Sure. He drops it 50 grand.
And maybe he does it again 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Now you have a listing on your street that is flashing a giant neon sign that says price dropping and negotiable.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this. It's not about the comparison of value. It's about the momentum of the neighborhood.
Precisely. The source describes this as a contagion of perception.
A contagion of perception. That's a great phrase.
Isn't it? When a buyer sees a high-profile listing on your street slashing prices, they don't think, oh, that one guy was just overpriced. They subconsciously apply that discount mentality to the whole street.
They think if he's coming down, everyone here is probably negotiable.
Yes.
Yes.
Dave has effectively devalued the neighborhood's brand by signaling desperation. He has replaced urgency with hesitation. In a hot market, a high price makes neighbors look good. In a shifting market, a high price that leads to cuts makes neighbors look vulnerable.
That is such a critical distinction. The source actually mentions the Zestimate here. And look, we all know the Zestimate is an algorithm, not an actual appraisal, but the source makes a really interesting point about how sellers view it versus how the market views it.
Right. Sellers often view this estimate, or really any automated valuation, as a floor. They think, well, if the computer says it's worth X, so I won't take a penny less.
But the source argues that your biggest competition isn't that number. Your competition is the perception created by the active listings around you.
Exactly. If the perception on the street is that prices are sliding, you are swimming upstream. You can have the best kitchen on the block, but if the narrative of the neighborhood is distressed, you're going to get lowball offers.
So in this hard mode market, you aren't just selling your four walls. You are managing the psychology of the buyer pool against the backdrop of your neighbor's bad decisions.
You really are. And that segues perfectly into who these buyers actually are.
Yeah.
Because that's the second big myth the source tries to bust.
The myth of the missing buyer.
Yes.
I hear this constantly. I was at a dinner party last week and someone literally said, well, interest rates are up, so nobody is buying. The buyers have disappeared. It's become this accepted wisdom.
It's a comfortable narrative because it excuses failure.
Huh.
I can't sell because there are no buyers. But the source is adamant. That is factually inaccurate.
So where are they? If they aren't missing, what are they doing?
They are sitting on the sidelines, flush with capital, but they are terrified. They aren't gone. They are scanning for risk.
Scanning for risk. That feels like a very specific behavior. Unpack that for us.
Think about the cost of money right now. With rates where they are, the monthly payment on a median home is significantly higher than it was 3 years ago. That financial pressure changes the buyer's mindset completely.
Right. They're paying more just for the privilege of borrowing the money.
Exactly. So they aren't looking for a project. They aren't looking for potential. They're looking for a sure thing.
So the tolerance for friction is zero.
Zero. The source lists the demands of this current buyer profile, and it is a punishing checklist.
I've got the list right here, actually. It says proper pricing, clear disclosures, strong condition, clean inspection history, and professional presentation.
That clean inspection history is the one that really stands out to me.
Why that one specifically?
Because 5 years ago, in a 3% interest rate, world buyers would overlook things all the time. The roof is old, whatever, we'll fix it. The furnace is making a weird noise, we'll deal with it later. Money was cheap.
Right. You could finance the repair and barely even feel it in your monthly payment.
Exactly. Now, if a buyer walks in and sees a water stain on the ceiling or reads a disclosure about a past leak, they don't see a repair. They see risk. They see a massive money pit. And because they are already stretching their budget just to afford the mortgage, that risk is an immediate deal killer.
The source uses a phrase here that I underlined 3 times. Confidence converts.
It is the absolute mantra of the current market.
It sounds simple, but the implication is pretty heavy. It means that if you as a seller introduce any doubt, a blurry photo, a weird smell in the basement, a vague disclosure form, the buyer doesn't just negotiate, they walk.
They completely ghost you. That's the reality. Deals today survive on preparation. If you wait until you're under contract to figure out if your HVAC actually works, you are gambling with a sale. The source is saying you need to pre-inspect, pre-repair, and preempt every single objection.
Because you have to build a bridge of confidence so sturdy that even a nervous, risk-averse buyer feels totally safe crossing it.
That's a beautiful metaphor, and it perfectly explains why some homes sell in 2 days and others sit for 200 days. The ones that sit are usually the ones that ask the buyer to take a leap of faith. Buyers today aren't taking leaps.
So we have neighbors sabotaging the vibe, and we have buyers who are scared of their own shadows. This brings us to the tactical part of the source. How does a seller actually win? How do you create leverage when the other side essentially holds all the cards?
This is where we have to fundamentally redefine marketing.
Okay, hold on. Because marketing is a massive buzzword. Every real estate agent on the planet says, I'm a marketing expert. Usually that just means they put the house on the MLS, stick a wooden sign in the yard, and maybe post an iPhone photo to their personal Facebook page. Is the source talking about something different?
Drastically different. The source argues that in this market, marketing is about algorithmic visibility and creating competition where none naturally exists.
Algorithmic visibility, that sounds highly technical.
It is. Think about how people actually buy homes now. They are on apps. Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. Those platforms run on algorithms. If a listing goes live and doesn't get clicks and saves in the first 48 hours, the algorithm pushes it down the stack. It becomes effectively invisible.
So professional photography isn't just about making the house look pretty for the brochure.
No, it's about the click-through rate. It's
Yeah.
about convincing the computer algorithm that your listing is hot. If the photos are dark or the first image isn't an amazing hero shot, people just scroll past it. The algorithm sees that scroll and thinks junk listing, and it buries you.
Wow. So you're fighting a computer before you even get the chance to fight the market.
Exactly. And this leads to the most terrifying concept in the entire article, the one-liver trap.
This part actually gave me anxiety reading it. Walk us through this trap.
Okay, imagine a seller. Let's call him Steve. Steve decides he wants to save some money or maybe some time. He hires an agent who cuts corners, no professional photos, no staging, house is a bit messy, and Steve says, let's price it high just to see what happens.
Classic Steve. I can always come down later.
Right, famous last words. So they launch. The listing hits the market, the photos are mediocre, the price is obviously too high, buyers scroll past, the algorithm buries it. 2 weeks go by, no offers, very few showings.
And the momentum is completely dead.
Flatlined. Now Steve is in serious trouble. He can't go back and relaunch. He can't redo the new listing buzz. He has totally lost control of the product presentation. What is the only thing Steve can do to get people to look at his house again?
He has to cut the price.
He has to cut the price. That is the one lever. Once you fail at marketing and preparation, price reduction is literally the only lever you have left to pull.
And usually you have to pull it pretty hard to get anyone's attention once you've been sitting there a while.
You do. And the tragedy is that Steve will likely end up selling for way less than he would have if he had just priced it correctly and marketed it well from day one. He's chasing the market down.
That really drives home the title of the article, Strategy Beats Hope. Steve was operating purely on hope. Hope someone pays this crazy price. Hope the photos are good enough.
And the market absolutely crushed him for it.
So how do we avoid being Steve? The source contrasts this testing mentality with a launch mentality. What is the fundamental difference there?
Think of a rocket launch. NASA doesn't put a rocket on the pad, half-fill it with fuel, and say, let's light the fuse and see how high it goes. If it doesn't reach orbit, we'll just add more fuel later.
No, that would be a complete disaster. You check every seal, every calculation, every bolt before you light the candle.
Exactly. The source says you have to treat your listing the exact same way. You only get one chance to be new on the market. You need to know the outcome before you even list.
But isn't that impossible? How can you actually know the outcome? The market is inherently unpredictable, isn't it?
It's a lot less unpredictable than people think if you look at the right data. The source emphasizes looking at pending data versus sold data. This is a massive nuance most sellers miss entirely.
Explain that. Why is pending better than sold? Sold is a hard fact. It's what someone actually paid. It's in the public record.
Sold is a hard fact about the past. If a house closes today, it actually went under contract 30 to 60 days ago. That price reflects the market of 2 months ago. In a rapidly shifting market, 2 months is an absolute eternity.
That's a great point. You're driving by looking in the rearview mirror.
Exactly. Pending listings are the ones that went under contract this week. That is real-time data. If you want to know what buyers are willing to accept right now, look at what went pending yesterday. That is your actual competition. That is the bar you have to beat.
So if you price your home based on sold data from 3 months ago, you might be completely pricing yourself out of the current market without even realizing it.
Exactly. The sellers who win are the ones who answer 3 very specific questions before they ever list. What price creates momentum? Who is the specific buyer pool? And how do we beat the pending competition?
That second question, who is the buyer pool, seems really important for the algorithmic marketing side we talked about.
It's crucial. Are you selling to a retiree looking to downsize or a young growing family? If it's a young family, you market the school district, the fence yard, the playroom. If it's a retiree, you market the single-level living and the low maintenance. You can't just market house for sale. You have to market a highly specific lifestyle to a specific person.
It sounds like the days of generic shotgun selling are totally over. You have to be a sniper.
That's it. Precision, strategy, preparation.
So if we zoom all the way out back to where we started, that record high search for can't sell my home, it's largely a group of people who just didn't do this prep work.
It is the collective sound of people realizing too late that they fell into the one-lever trap. They are panic searching for a quick solution, but the actual solution was to have a better strategy 3 months ago.
That is a very tough pill to swallow. But hey, better to swallow it now than after your house has been sitting for 100 days and the listing is stale.
Absolutely.
Let's wrap this up by crystallizing the takeaway here. For you listening, we've covered a ton of ground today.
We definitely have. I boil it down to 3 main pillars for anyone digesting this.
Go for it. Let's hear them.
Number 1, be acutely aware of the ecosystem. The bad neighbor effect is real. You are not selling in a vacuum. You are selling against the perception of your entire street. If your neighbors are cutting prices, you need to actively account for that stigma in your own strategy.
Number 2, respect the risk scan. Buyers are not missing. They are just incredibly risk-averse right now. Eliminate all the friction. Fix the leaky faucet. Paint the scuffed wall. Get the pre-inspection done. confidence converts.
And number 3, the launch is everything. Do not test the market. Launch into it. Use real-time pending data, not old sold data. If you fail to launch correctly, you are left with only one lever, which is a price reduction, and that is a very painful lever to pull.
It really reframes the whole real estate process. It moves it from being a game of luck to a game of logic.
Which is actually great news.
Yeah.
Because luck is random, logic is repeatable, you can control logic.
We have listeners who are active real estate investors, some who are just looking to buy their first place, and some who just genuinely love understanding how the economy ticks. But I think this framework applies even outside of real estate.
Well, 100% it does.
It's really about understanding human behavior under intense pressure. When people feel financially squeezed, they retreat to safety. They heavily punish uncertainty. Whether you're selling a house, pitching a new startup to investors, or just trying to sell a used car on Facebook, the core principle holds up. If you make it feel risky, they will walk away.
That is the universal truth here. In any tight economy, the highest premium is always placed on certainty.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on today. The source article ends with a bit of a challenge. It suggests that a quick, honest conversation with a professional is infinitely better than operating on an assumption.
That's totally right.
If you are sitting on a property right now, maybe you're thinking of selling next spring, or maybe you're just idly watching your Zestimate go up and down on your phone, ask yourself a hard question. Do you actually know how your home would perform in this specific real-time market? Or are you secretly relying on the easy mode rules from 2021?
Are you prepared to launch, or are you just hoping?
Because, as we've learned today, the market simply does not care about your hope. It only respects your strategy.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for breaking all this down with us. It's complex stuff, but incredibly crucial to understand.
Always a pleasure to dig into the reality behind the data.
And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. Keep your eyes on the data and stay strategic out there. We will see you next time.